Hi grade 9, it's Mrs. Florenza again, and today we're going to look at the internal structure of the lungs, and that is on page 55 of your workbook. And then the exercise that the task that you are going to complete is task 4 on page 58. But always go and look at Google Classroom, it tells you exactly what you need to do. All right, so here's the model of the two lungs. So just as we did with the digestive system, is that this is my right hand, so this is my right lung, but it looks like it's on the left of your screen. And this is my left hand holding, sort of, my left lung, but it looks like it's on the right of the screen. So the same applies here. So you can see here, okay, I think I've swapped them around. So this is the right lung because it's got 1, 2, 3 lobes. And this is a model of the left lung because, you can see it here. There, what? Okay, there's one lobe and there is the other one. Okay, so that's the left. All right, now inside the lungs, okay, there would be lots and lots of air sacs. There's no muscle, all right, but all of this pink here, this would be millions of tiny little air sacs, and then they've used little blue and red tubes to indicate the blue would be the vein that carry deoxygenated blood, and the little red tubes that they've shown here would be the arteries carrying oxygenated blood, and then there would be the little branches. Okay, so if you remember, going into each lung, there would be a bronchus. Okay, the trachea divides to form one bronchi into each lung. So that little green bit over there, that is the bronchus branching into this lung, and on the other one, it's one branch becoming, smaller branches as it enters the lung. But that's too much detail for us. One bronchus to each lung, and then you can see here the arteries and veins as well. Sorry, you can see over there, vein and arteries, how they go into the lung or how they emerge from the lung. All right, so lots and lots of air sacs with these blood vessels entering and leaving, as well as the bronchi, and then the bronchi branch to form lots of tiny little tubes, the little green ones here, and they become so tiny. There's millions of them, and they become so tiny, and at the end of each of these little tubes will be the bunches of air sacs. It looks like little bunches of grapes. Okay, so you've just got to try and imagine that. All right, now let's just share screen here so that you can see the PowerPoint. Okay, so over here, I just like this slide. Okay, this is one that we did not finish in the first lesson. Okay. All right, so over here, so if you remember from yesterday, we looked at the gland, the larynx at the top, and then the thyroid gland. You don't need to know that. Over the top of the trachea. So, and then we looked at movement of air into the trachea. So this is the trachea. I think it's of a rat. So it looks like a little creepy crawly pipe. Okay, and those would be the C-shaped cartilage rings which hold the trachea open. Because if it didn't have that, it would collapse, just like your esophagus. It would just collapse. So this is quite a nice diagram here. There's the larynx, there's the trachea, and they're showing a cross-section through that part of the trachea, and there it is. So there is the C-shaped piece of cartilage. This is the trachea. There is the esophagus or the gullet behind it, and there's no cartilage here because as the esophagus expands, when a bolus of food moves down by peristalsis, that esophagus needs to be able to expand a little bit, and there's a little bit of give here. So when this esophagus expands, it can expand a little bit into the trachea. All right, and that's okay because you don't breathe, there's still enough space for air to go down the trachea. And here's another one, just flip the other way around. So there is the C-shaped ring of cartilage, and there's the opening inside the trachea and all the other tissues that make up that trachea. All right, so internal lung structure, like I showed you with the model. So we breathe in air, goes down nasal cavities, down the pharynx, the throat, or through your mouth, to the throat, through the larynx, and then the video that you saw yesterday and how those little vocal cords vibrate and how they move to create sound And you might have been able to pick up who was the male, but his vocal cords were much longer. Whereas in a female, you know, they are shorter, they're not as long. Okay? So here we can see how the trachea branches into the bronchi and then into tiny little branches called bronchioles or bronchioles. And they are also held open by little complete rings of cartilage. So it's just the trachea, which has got the C-shaped rings of cartilage, so that the esophagus can expand behind. But the bronchi and the bronchioles, the little tubes inside the lungs, they have complete little rings of cartilage to hold them open. And then at the end of those bronchioles, they've actually got fancy names. We just say bronchioles. You can see here that there are bunches of air sacs, little bunches of air sacs called alveoli or alveoli. So it looks like a bunch of grapes. And then around each bunch, okay, and there's going to be air sacs everywhere here, hundreds of thousands of air sacs. And around each bunch of grapes, you can see here how an artery, which carries oxygenated blood, that oxygenated blood is going to go away to the rest of the body. And then there's veins bringing deoxygenated blood towards the air sacs. Okay, so gaseous exchange is going to occur between the air sac and these little blood vessels over here. All right, now I always use an orange bag. Okay, so to me, it's my fist, all my knuckles. Those are the air sacs. And then this, my arm would be the bronchiole leading to the air sacs. So now you've got to imagine that there are lots of little capillaries all around those air sacs. It looks like a network, just like over there. So it's a very short distance for gases to move. So remember from the first lesson, we breathe in air with oxygen, and that oxygen will pass down the bronchiole into those air sacs where it will be in high concentration, and then it diffuses out of the air sacs to the blood capillaries, and then those blood capillaries join, and you can see here how an artery is now taking that oxygenated blood out of the lungs and in other arteries to the rest of the body, and at the same time deoxygenated blood coming from the body, okay, that carbon dioxide will be in high concentration in these blood capillaries, and then it will diffuse from the blood capillaries, like over here, and into the air sacs, and then you exhale the air containing carbon dioxide. All right, there's another diagram. So here we can actually see, you know, the diaphragm below the lungs. Now remember, that is a ring of muscle with a connective tissue sheath. And when the diaphragm is relaxed, like shown over here, dome shaped, and then when it contracts, it becomes flattened, and we'll talk about breathing later. But here are the air sacs once again, and you can see how deoxygenated or oxygen poor blood is brought into the lungs, and then from all the blood capillaries, okay, CO2 will diffuse from them and into the air sacs, and you breathe it out. And at the same time, the oxygen-laden air that you breathe in, the oxygen will be in higher concentration in the air sacs, and then it diffuses into these blood capillaries, and then you breathe it out. But just remember, we use blue and red. Okay, your deoxygenated or oxygen-poor blood is not blue. So if you remember from yesterday, I had a very dark burgundy candle. That would be the deoxygenated blood, but something that is bright red. Okay, I've still got my straw. So something that is bright red, that represents oxygen-rich or oxygenated blood that gets taken away from the lung. Now, at the bottom here are some electron micrographs. So that would be an electron micrograph showing inside the actual air sac. Now, the lung tissue itself will look quite pink. In fact, sort of the same pink as this background over here. And that's simply because of all the oxygenated blood cells, the red blood cells becoming oxygenated, and the oxygen being passed through the lung, okay, before it goes to the body. And another electron micrograph you can see over here. This is an external view. So like that one over there, showing these little capillary networks around these little air sacs. That's exactly what it looks like. All right, so this diagram is important. You need to understand it, and it's on page 55. I see that on page 55 it's a little bit faint, but please remember you can always look at this video PowerPoint or the PDF version of the PowerPoint that I have also uploaded, which has no voiceover. And then remember on Moodle, one of the first topics, you can find the whole color version of your grade 9 workbook. So please, you need to understand this diagram really well. So over here, when you breathe in, air with oxygen is breathed in. So it's going to be high oxygen concentration in each air sac. So it diffuses from the air sac through the wall of the air sac or alveolus, through the wall of the capillary and into the blood. Okay, and then that oxygen will become it will be taken up by the red blood cells, and then oxygenated blood will be taken out of the lungs to every single cell in your body. And we will see how that works when we complete the circulatory system. At the same time, because it's continuous movement, and you will see that in the little videos, the internet videos that I have uploaded to see the actual movement of blood. It's a bit difficult to show on a stationary diagram like here. But coming from your body, entering the lungs, okay, through one of the veins, the blue color here, the blood will be deoxygenated. It will be in high, carbon dioxide is high in concentration in those blood vessels. So it will diffuse from a region of high concentration in these capillaries to a region of low concentration in the air sac. And then you exhale, you breathe the air with CO2 out. Now, this process is called gaseous exchange. So oxygen from air sac to blood capillaries, CO2 from blood capillaries to air sac. So the gases are being exchanged. And it's not going to be a clear-cut, deep burgundy red colored blood to, it's not going to be so clear-cut, but that's how we draw it on diagrams for easier understanding. And if you think about it, because deoxygenated blood is continuously brought towards the air sac, CO2 is lost, and oxygen is continuously breathed in, and there's slower blood through here. So the difference in concentration will always be present. There will always be higher CO2 arriving at the air sac, so it diffuses out. There will always be higher oxygen, inside the air sac, and it will always diffuse into the blood and get taken away. And there's this continuous movement of blood. So that concentration gradient is maintained, and we do not have to think about gaseous exchange. It happens, remember, gases and diffusion is just movement of molecules from a region of high to low concentration. And it just happens. You don't have to think about it at all. All right, and then in the next little video, I will explain breathing. So what I want you to do now, please, is that you need to go to page 58, and I'll just show you here. There is a similar diagram, and it tells you at the top for question number 1 over there, is that you now need to add label lines and labels indicating the different parts. And then number 2, for each letter A, B, C, D, E, I want you to add annotations. Now that is more than a label. That is actually explaining the process that is happening at each of those letters. So you're going to have labels with lines for alveolus, blood capillary, bronchiole, red blood cell. Okay, now the lining of moisture, let me actually just explain that quickly. So the air sacs here are lined by a little bit of moisture, because remember in term 1 we said that oxygen, CO2, gases, they can't simply move. They need to be dissolved in moisture. So oxygen dissolves in the little line. Can you take it as this blue area here? The oxygen dissolves in that lining of moisture that is secreted by these cells. So it dissolves and now it diffuses. All right, so it's to aid diffusion. And then CO2 diffuses into the air sac, it's dissolved, and then the CO2 is breathed out. Okay, so if we just look here again, in fact, let's stop there. All right, so there you're going to add the labels and the label lines, but for the letters you are going to explain what is happening, and that's the task for what's happening at the alveolus surface. And next we will look at breathing.